Good to have you with us on this Monday. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off. We begin with what the National Weather Service is calling a historic storm. This morning, 60 million Americans are waking up under a winter weather alert as that major storm moves east from the middle of the country to the East Coast. The wide-ranging system is already causing havoc in the heartland, with some places buried under more than a foot of snow. And take a look at this. Freezing rain and ice caused this semi-truck to jackknife in Park City, Kansas. Well, next door in Missouri, officials warn drivers to stay off the roads, calling driving impossible. In the skies, airports saw more than 6,000 flight delays and more than 1,500 cancellations yesterday alone. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman is tracking that winter wallop, but let's begin with NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa, who's in hard-hit Kansas City, Missouri. Maggie, good morning. So officials there said this could be one of the most significant storms that Casey has ever seen. Tell us, how are things looking right now?
Right. They are frozen solid, Joe. We're standing outside right now. I'll pick up my trusty thermometer here, sitting near this pile of snow. We have temperatures. You can see right around actual temperatures, 6 degrees. The wind chill this morning around -4. And Joe, you're from the Midwest. You know, when you have a snowfall like this, like, you can plow all you want, you can shovel all you want, but when everything refreezes, that effectively is some of the most dangerous times to be out on the roads. Officials here told us this will take them days to clean up, clear out, and really try to get the road safe enough for everyone, all commuters, to go back to work. You can see just how tall this snow is just next to this little side street that we're on, and it's level with the sidewalks. You're thinking, well, they plowed this. No, this is the actual snowfall that we saw just in 24 hours. I want to be clear. All of this started falling yesterday morning, and then it stopped basically by last night. So this was a rapid, heavy, really intense snowstorm, Joe, and it seems like these frozen temperatures, since they're staying around for days, as Michelle can point to, could really just keep things a bit more chaotic, I guess, for days to come.
Yeah, cities would need like giant road-sized ice scrapers to try and get underneath all of that,
right,
to get all of the stuff off the roads. It's not just the roads. The storm has also paralyzed air travel. Many people stranded after their flights were canceled over the weekend. Any idea when things could get back on track?
It doesn't seem like it's going to be today. We just checked FlightAware. More than 1,300 flights domestically have already been canceled just for today, including, that little car seems to be doing just fine. There you go. Including our flight back to Chicago. Our team, if our bosses could do earmuffs really quick, we booked 2. So we have 1 more remaining. It's a 50-50 shot if we'll get out of here today. But we had a Southwest Airlines flight out of here around 3 p.m. That was canceled last night. So you can see it's kind of that ripple effect that we see at airports across the country when something like this happens. Case in point, also, we talked to 2 pilots from Arizona who have been stranded here since Sunday, so since yesterday, and they think they'll be here for days to come. Here's part of what they had to say.
When I woke up and saw nothing but white across the ground, which was not the case last night, I knew we were in trouble.
How long do you think you'll be stuck here?
So they're saying until Tuesday. I take a look at the weather. We're hopefully maybe going to see a break in it tomorrow. That would be really nice. But Tuesday probably at the best.
Yeah, like you said, we hopefully could see a break in the weather tomorrow. But as we know, Joe, again, those flight delays, those disruptions, those can ripple on for several days. So it's really anyone's guess. Fingers crossed for us and for them. But as to when anyone can get out of here.
I was just going to say, I have my fingers crossed for you and your team. Okay, so you guys have experienced this. Now it's heading east. Are officials in the East Coast bracing for the same kind of headache?
They really are. I mean, our meteorologists and officials, federal, state, local, everyone saying that they could see something very similar to this in certain cities, especially D.C. They're expecting potentially up to a foot of snow. That's about what we got here in Kansas City. The governor of New Jersey declaring a state of emergency. A lot of federal buildings are closed. A lot of schools already closed. They were closed yesterday just in anticipation of this. You know, we were talking to a city manager here in Kansas City who actually used to live in Jersey, and we were asking him, you know, do you think the commute will be back to normal here in Kansas City for a while? And he said, I think people in the Midwest are pretty good at staying home, working remotely, going to school remotely when they have to. He said, I got to be honest, I'm more worried about my friends and family out on the East Coast. He said they're not as used to this. They try to kind of go to work, fight through it. And he said everybody really should stay home there as well, just kind of looking at how this thing is unfolding across the country, Joe.
All right, Maggie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good luck getting home. For a closer look at this monster winter storm, let's get your morning news now forecast. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman is standing by with that. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Yeah, this is a big one. It's large in size and really powerful. It has a lot of impacts with it. We have the snow where we saw Maggie, and we're going to see it into the mid-Atlantic. We're seeing that snow falling now. Also looking at a lot of ice in spots, especially in portions of southern Virginia, northern North Carolina. And we are looking at the chance for some severe to strong storms in the southeast. So right now, that number jumped to 64 million Americans under winter alerts. We're going to see that number kind of change back and forth throughout the morning. But we're looking at winter storm warnings, also winter weather advisories. And this is why. Radar showing us that, yes, we are seeing that snow falling where you see those lighter colors, the lighter blues, almost the whites. That's where the heaviest snow is falling. So we're looking from D.C. to southern New Jersey, like Maggie mentioned. Also southern Delaware seeing some really heavy snow throughout the day today. Lots of purple, too, showing up. That is the ice falling, and that is very dangerous. We're going to see the potential for power outages, and it's really cold for the eastern two-thirds of the nation. We're looking at temperatures well below normal, 30 degrees below normal for this time of year. So for today, we're going to watch that storm move to the east. It's going to move off the mid-Atlantic coast later on today. But in the meantime, it's a tough morning commute. It's a tough evening commute. We're looking at freezing rain for the central Appalachians, heavy snow in northern Virginia, especially in the morning hours. And then tomorrow, it's plain cold with those winds gusting, especially over those lakes. So we're going to turn up those lake effect snow machines once again, and we will see snow falling. We're still seeing snow falling, really downfall of the Great Lakes as well today. Additional snowfall as we go throughout tonight. We could see snowfall rates of 1 to 3 inches per hour. And notice those brighter colors, the pinks, the purples in parts of Delaware, Maryland, southern New Jersey. That's where we're seeing the highest amounts. And usually those are the spots where we see lower amounts. We have that Atlantic Ocean influence, but not the case today. We're going to see up to a foot of snow in some spots there. We're worried about the ice. This is really particularly hard to travel in. Please stay home if you can, because it is almost nearly impossible to travel on ice. And again, we are worried about the chance for some power outages. With that, we have that cold weather in place. And on top of everything, on the warmer side of this system, we are looking at the chance for strong to severe storms in parts of the southeast. That includes Tallahassee, Daytona Beach, into Tampa. And we're seeing some really heavy rain falling, too, in parts of the southeast. Bitterly cold, that's another big weather story today. 47 million people waking up to some cold advisories from O'Neill down to Houston, New Orleans, and over to Jacksonville. Joe?
All right, Michelle, thank you so much. There's new information in the New Orleans terror attack that left 14 people dead on New Year's Day. The FBI revealed new details about the movements of Shamsud-Din Jabbar prior to the attack.
Jabbar made at least 2 trips to New Orleans in the months prior to the attacks. One in October and the other a month later in November. During that time, Jabbar, using Meta glasses, recorded a video as he rode through the French Quarter on a bicycle.
The FBI shared clips that he recorded while wearing those Meta glasses around the French Quarter. The FBI blurred images of bystanders. Jabbar also wore the glasses during the New Year's Day attack, but the FBI says there's no indication the event was recorded or live streamed. Later today, President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden are set to visit New Orleans. They'll meet with the grieving families and others impacted by this tragedy. NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley has more on the investigation, and senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us with details on President Biden's visit to New Orleans today. Julia, let's start with you. Tell us more about what we learned from yesterday's news conference and the attackers' movements prior to the attack.
Well, Joe, you mentioned those Meta glasses. We understand that Jabbar visited New Orleans on November 10th, rode through the French Quarter on his bike. They actually released the images of that video that he was able to record. They did, of course, blur the faces of those people, but really chilling to watch that as he scoped out the area. Also, new video of him placing those IEDs in the coolers we mentioned earlier. He's really standing by them for a long period of time, and that before he moves on. We were also able to learn and confirmed through my colleague Ken Delaney some details of recordings that he left behind that the FBI is also investigating, telling people that to his family that he did not spare them willingly, that he wanted to coordinate a celebration where they could witness the killing of the apostates, where everyone could witness the killing of the apostates. Someone who really is telling his family, look, I just went to this for a bigger sensation to get more attention. So really chilling new details that we're learning. Also confirming some of NBC's reporting, and that Jabbar traveled to Egypt and to Ontario in the summer of 2023. And again, going back to his own recordings, Jabbar's recordings, saying that he became a member of ISIS earlier this year. Joe.
Gabe, let's bring you in here. What can we expect today from the President and First Lady's visit to New Orleans?
Hi there, Joe. Good morning from a snowy White House North Lawn. Well, President Biden and the First Lady are expected to head to New Orleans a little later on today, and this will be probably his last trip, or potentially at least one of his last trips, as consoler-in-chief, that role that is so important to presidents, but also especially to President Biden, who has dealt with so much personal loss in his life. We expect him to meet with grieving families there in New Orleans, as well as local officials. You see video there of the growing makeshift memorial in and around Bourbon Street. And New Orleans, of course, is a city that has dealt with so much tragedy. Of course, President Bush eventually going there as consoler-in-chief after Hurricane Katrina. Also, President Obama after the BP oil spill several years after that. President Biden has been to New Orleans in a different capacity several months ago. In August was the last time he went, but never in this capacity where he's set to console grieving families. Now, he did speak about this tragedy last week from Camp David, saying that our nation grieves with you, and we expect him to reiterate that message later today. Joe.
And Julia, there are a couple big events still coming up in New Orleans. The city will host Mardi Gras in early March, and then before that, the Super Bowl is next month. So talk about how city officials are preparing as some of these security concerns grow. I mean, do they feel ready in light of this attack?
Well, they're moving forward, Joe, but I'm glad you mentioned those two events, because the way the city and the federal government handle those two events is so different. The Super Bowl, coming up in just a little over a month, is considered a Tier 1 event. That means DHS is in charge of security, and a Tier 1 event means that it has domestic and international importance, and that they would get extensive interagency coordination. That basically means all hands on deck. It's the same level you would see at a presidential inauguration. Mardi Gras, on the other hand, is largely handled locally. They can coordinate with the federal government, but it's similar to what you would have seen on New Year's Eve. And we've had some reporting here at NBC about how there wasn't enough use of the bollard system that they had. Those are steel beams that can come up to protect a driver like Jabbar from coming into a crowd. So the city is going to prepare differently this time in order to protect those coming to celebrate Mardi Gras. And they are moving forward, Joe, but it's something certainly to keep an eye on to see how mid-sized cities like New Orleans and others who host big celebrations have to change in light of this event.
All right, Julia and Gabe, thank you both. Appreciate it. 2 weeks from today, President-elect Donald Trump will be sworn in for his second term in the White House. But before that, he'll need to appear before a New York judge. This Friday, Mr. Trump will be sentenced on the 34 felony counts in his hush money case. But Judge Juan Merchan says Trump won't face any jail time. The judge denied Mr. Trump's bid to toss out his guilty verdict. He now says he'll continue with the sentencing on January 10th, just 10 days before Trump's inauguration. The president-elect was convicted in May of falsifying business records to conceal thousands of dollars in hush money payments that he made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. All of this part of an effort to try and sway the 2016 election. A spokesperson for the incoming president called the ruling a direct violation of the Supreme Court's immunity decision. For more, let's bring in NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. He's near Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Vaughn, good morning. So jail time was always a possibility, but legal experts consistently told us it was unlikely in this situation. So how did the judge come to this conclusion that Mr. Trump will not be going to prison?
Right, Joe, especially unlikely after Trump's November 5th election victory. That really put Judge Merchan, who's overseeing this case, on the spot, not only on whether he would actually sentence Donald Trump to jail time, which would likely not have taken place until 2029, but also whether he would toss the case altogether. And that is where Judge Merchan's ruling over the weekend was notable, because he said he will move forward with making formally Donald Trump a convicted felon by going forward with the sentencing 10 days before inauguration. Of course, it's this Friday is January 10th. And he indicated in his ruling that, number one, he will not sentence him to jail time. He said for obvious reasons, but also noting that he intends to give him unconditional discharge, which would effectively mean no substantive consequence at all, no fine, no probation. And so while Donald Trump will be handed down with this guilty verdict and ultimately walk into Inauguration Day likely being considered a convicted felon, he is not facing any actual punishment for the 34 felony counts that the jury in Lower Manhattan unanimously found him guilty of.
You know, Vaughn, let's talk about the optics of this for the incoming president. Do we know anything about how Mr. Trump might appear for this sentencing? And is there anything at this point he can do to avoid being sentenced before he is sworn in?
No, he was able to appeal. He and his legal team are going to be able to appeal the ultimate conviction, but that will come after the sentencing. Of course, you're looking at a timeline here in which Judge Merchan, even in his own ruling, noted that he had considered moving the sentencing to 2029 once Donald Trump were to leave office, but he said that that would obviously not be the most feasible option for the obvious reasons that the president-elect will soon be in the Oval Office here. But his legal team and Donald Trump have suggested that they will fight this as far as they can. They have successfully been able to quash the classified records case that was brought in Washington, D.C., as well as the January 6th election interference case, the federal case. And the Fulton County case is indefinitely on hold. But this is the one where they were unsuccessfully able to ultimately stop the case from not only the trial, but now the sentencing from taking place before Inauguration Day.
And Vaughn, before we let you go, the president-elect has invited some House Republicans to meet with him at Mar-a-Lago, near where you are. What's on the agenda?
Right. House Republicans are going to be coming down next weekend to come meet with him. It's notable here because you're looking for Donald Trump, who has suggested that overnight, actually, that he wants to put forward one big package of legislation to essentially be passed here in 2025. It's going to be incumbent upon these majorities in the Senate and the House, which Republicans have those majorities, to come together around this package, and one that he ultimately agrees with as well. And when you're looking at the House specifically, one of those groups that he's going to be inviting are the House Freedom Caucus, which is more of the conservative right-wing coalition in the Republican majority. And there's a situation this winter based off of the numbers where Republicans may have such a slim majority that they may not be able to lose one single Republican member defecting and voting no on their piece of legislation unless Democrats were to aid their efforts. So for Donald Trump, it is incumbent and essential for him to be able to get the full breadth of support from the Republican conference in Washington, D.C.
Truly a razor-thin majority. Vaughn, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Today is January 6th, which means later this afternoon, Congress will certify President-elect Trump's victory in the 2024 election, a day expected to look dramatically different from 4 years ago. This proceeding, normally a formality that's part of the peaceful transfer of power in our nation's democratic process, now serves as a reminder of the attack on the Capitol in 2021. Lawmakers will gather today to certify the victory of a presidential candidate who attempted to forcefully overturn the legitimate results of his defeat in the previous election. The Capitol riot led to the largest ever federal criminal probe with thousands of convictions, plus criminal charges against the president-elect himself, charges that, as Vaughn mentioned, have since been dismissed. While no mob or interruption is expected at today's proceeding, law enforcement is adding security. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles joins us now with more on this. Ryan, good morning. So here's the deal. Today, Vice President Kamala Harris is going to preside over this process that will officially mark her own defeat in the presidential election. That hasn't happened in more than 20 years since Al Gore. Many are still thinking about this deadly attack on the Capitol 4 years ago. So tell us what we should expect in this proceeding later today, especially with the history that really now looms over it.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, it is just, you can't understate just how different it's going to be this time around than it was 4 years ago. First of all, there's a major snowstorm here in Washington, D.C. That's going to impact the way that this process plays itself out. But there are no crowds lining up at the ellipse outside the White House. There is all kinds of security and fencing up around the Capitol complex to prevent any sort of protest spilling into the Capitol, to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. And then inside the halls of Congress, this is expected to be a relatively perfunctory process. Both the House and Senate will vote to certify the election results. There will be an opportunity to object. We don't expect any objections. And you're absolutely right. Vice President Kamala Harris, who ran for the top job, will be presiding over the Senate as they formally certify the election win for Donald Trump. Just a very different scene than what we saw here 4 years ago, where Donald Trump and his supporters refused to accept the results of the election and did everything they could to try and prevent that peaceful transfer of power. Joe.
And Ryan, as you mentioned, no violence expected, no objections expected. Still, law enforcement not taking any chances. Talk about some of the preps they're taking in advance of today.
Well, the most obvious thing that you can see around the Capitol right now is that fencing that surrounds the entire Capitol complex. 6 feet high. It's an unscalable fence. More than anything, the biggest remnant of the January 6th insurrection attempt. This is something that the Capitol Police now has at its ready to deploy whenever they think there could be a security threat. That fencing is expected to stay in place through the inauguration, so it will allow them that security posture through the inauguration itself. And then the process itself today is going to be a little bit different than it was 4 years ago. It's much more of a formality legally as well than it was 4 years ago, where the members of the Senate and House basically just have to say yes or no. There aren't the real opportunities to try and challenge the results of the election. That was put in place after what we saw take place here on January 6th. So it's just going to be a very dramatically different day here on Capitol Hill than it was 4 years ago.
All right, Ryan Nobles. Ryan, thank you so much. Today is the last day for people in Georgia to pay their respects to President Jimmy Carter as he lies in repose in his home state. 6 days of funeral observances began over the weekend, and visitation continues today at his presidential library at the Carter Center in Atlanta. Tomorrow, his family travels to Washington, where President Carter will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol. NBC's Jay Gray has more on how his friends and neighbors in Georgia are remembering his impact.
Carried by the Secret Service agents who protected him for so long, President Carter's final trip mirrors his life's journey. Beginning in rural Georgia, where he spent 80 of his 100 years, passing the Methodist church where he married his beloved Rosalind, and the house the couple built in 1962, where they lived until their passing, leaving only twice for 4 years in the governor's mansion and 4 more in the White House. Hundreds lining the path of the motorcade to Atlanta.
We lost a great American and a great person today.
That honor and respect following Mr. Carter to his presidential library, where he lies in state, an honor guard standing watch around the clock as crowds continue to gather.
President Carter represented a lot of people, and we were very proud of him. We respected him.
Respect earned, his family says, not only for his political career and amazing humanitarian efforts across the globe, but by the way he lived his life every day for a century.
He not only cared about the nation and the good that he did, he cared about his neighbors next door. He always checked in on anybody in town. He'd send letters. So just how, for all the work he had to do, how personable he stayed with everybody.
Jimmy Carter, a man who stayed true to his faith and his Georgia roots while changing the world. Jay Gray, NBC News, Atlanta.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.